and welcome to New Wave Global. You're watching Unraveled with Marvi Sirmed. This is episode number 115, and today is February 28th in Washington, D.C., although it's about to be the 1st of March in Pakistan. And from Pakistan, joining me is none other than Pakistan's former Director General of ISI, and he has also headed military intelligence, the one and the only General Asad Durrani, retired General Asad Durrani. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And today, what we are unraveling is the Pakistan and Afghanistan situation, not just the escalation that we are seeing today, but we will also discuss the context. So I will start from the context because you would know what are the latest updates, viewers. The latest updates, I will just very briefly remind you, are that Pakistan and Afghanistan are in a state of quote unquote open war, in the words of Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif, following a massive escalation in cross border hostilities that began earlier this week. But in fact, it is, there is a context to it. And we have discussed the context in our last episode as a prelude to this episode. So why it was, why Pakistan decided to to hold airstrikes in deep inside Afghanistan. And then in retaliation, Afghanistan did what it did. And now we are here when the reported casualties Pakistan claims to have killed over 331 Afghan Taliban personnel, and Afghan Taliban plus the militants, the terrorists, and it also claims to have destroyed more than 100 military posts inside Afghanistan. Conversely, the Afghan Taliban, claim to have killed scores of Pakistani soldiers and captured 15 military posts, which Pakistani side denies vehemently. And there has been Afghan claim of capturing one of the Pakistani pilots alive, which has also been denied. So there we are. Welcome, General Asad Durrani. Sir, please just help us make sense of it. How did we get here?
It's very difficult to make sense of something which was so completely nonsensical. Not that one did not expect that these things would happen. If you start the ball rolling, there's enough experience the world has, we have, that if you get onto that particular path, it's not about right, wrong, your moral justification, the other's compulsion. It is because a particular step will move you in a particular direction. There was no way that it would not have come this way. It probably started, I do not know, but for me it started with the expulsion of the Afghan refugees. Now just imagine,
In 2023, you mean?
Yes, just imagine. Now, after 40 years, the country is getting back to its feet. Regardless of who was now at the helm, they won the war, and they needed all types of support for everyone, especially from a very dear neighbor and a very near neighbor like Pakistan. And so that was the occasion that called for more understanding, better contact, more tolerance. 40 years you've kept the refugees, you can keep them another for 40 days or 40 months. But at that time, instead of burdening them with this thing, we started expulsion. And let me tell you, it was not the decision of a collective decision. It was the decision of one man. He was also told by some of the close associates, this is not the time to do it. It will lead to certain consequences. But then, this is like like they're the Trump man or a Modi man. I mean, these people can take such decision, and the others watch helplessly, and after that, some of them join the bandwagon.
Sir, sorry to cut you here, but you are saying that it happened in 2023. But those who have been observing the relations, they know that 2023, it was not the process, the start of the bitterness had started in 2021 when Pakistan and between Pakistan and Afghan Taliban. Why was that, sir? Because
That's
it was
right.
culmination of that bitterness.
No, that there was no bitterness till that time. In fact, the Afghan Taliban were very grateful to us for all the support that we gave. The point about TTP can come wherever you like, but it will also be, you're talking about context, we'll see that in the context as to how it happened. But otherwise, till that time, it wasn't that bad. But once we started, and after that, there was some resentment, and that is the second came where one started asking them not only to accept the refugees, but also, round up some 8,000 of these militants and
Hmm.
hand them over to us. Now, it cannot be done. We could not do it during 20 years of American occupation of Afghanistan. And those people with much limited resources, with more difficulties that they were facing, they had no means. There was no they simply did not have the wherewithal to do it. And lastly, the most importantly, and if Afghans people don't know Afghans, that is not the fault of the Afghans. They were not going to do it because the TTP had been helpful to them in their struggle against the foreign occupation. So traditionally, they could not do it, but they did the second best thing and said, you are a big country, you have plenty of resources, they are your people. When they come, because only once they come on your side, they will create problems, you can get hold of them. Precisely the argument that we used to give to the Americans. Once they go there, you can get hold of them. Now,
Hmm.
that was an unreasonable demand, practically not feasible, politically very difficult to meet, but traditionally for the Afghans who would not even surrender Osama bin Laden and fight 20 years for that, it was not going to be done. We knew about that. But
Hmm.
since if you insist that and on that, it's a you are conceding on the first on one hand, we can't do it. Once they come, we will not be able to do it. And secondly,
Hmm.
you do it. Although they are not your enemies, although they are not harming you, they'll create problems for you if you hold them, but you do it. Now, when this is the scenario, it had to come to this particular place.
What you are saying is logical. What you are saying is based on the knowledge of not just how Pakistan, what are the options of Pakistan, but also more importantly, what are the options Afghan Taliban or Afghanistan as a country has. And knowing deeply, I acknowledge that how the Afghan culture and Taliban's culture.
Right?
Seems logical, seems very straightforward. But, sir, don't you think in Pakistan's military establishment there is no one who could put that together? What you have just put together?
No, I just refer to that. There were people, quite knowledgeable people, people who were relevant. They did try, and they probably might have argued on the same lines. It's number one, it's a given if you are dealing with a country, let's say United States, India, or Afghanistan, you should
Hmm.
know how they're likely to react. This is the first lesson, especially the field in which I've spent some time making an assessment of the enemy. You should know. You should get into the boot and say, what is it that I'm going to do? But to be
Hmm.
fair, some people did. I learned that because of other reasons, not that I was
Hmm.
directly asked, never asked. Actually, I've never been asked for the last, ever since I left, once or except for in the beginning once or twice, never
Hmm.
been asked. So no one asked me, but mercifully there was advisory. But if there are people, enough number of people who do not take advice. Nowadays, for example, just to give an example, there are enough, you know, there was enough warning
Hmm.
to Trump and to the Americans that if
Hmm.
you did something like this, like they started, I think,
Hmm.
yesterday or this morning, certain things will happen.
Hmm.
But you still go ahead and do it for your reasons or for your other compulsion, for political reasons, for the lobby reasons, etc. But in this particular case, there was no pressure on us to do it. No one
Hmm.
said. In fact, during the last about 2 or 3 years, some of our
Hmm.
friendly countries in
Hmm.
the region, China, Russia, Central Asians, probably Iran and Saudis too, they've been asking us not to do it.
Yeah.
So that is what the French do. Not to do it, but if someone wants to do it and is adamant about it, and after that, it's called digging deeper in the grain, you will do something more to show, well, I'm not going to take this guy, I'll go ahead to it. And then the things start getting worse.
So you have given an analogy of President Trump, who has done that, the strikes on Iran in collusion with Israel, despite the very prominent advice and consultation that came on for the contrary. He did that. One person. He was mandated to do that. Who is that Trump on Pakistan's side? Was it Prime Minister of Pakistan or someone else?
No, I mean, it's absolutely clear. No, everyone knows. I mean, new and everyone could suspect that the army chief has a big role. But now, for the last about 3 or 4 years, there has been no doubt. People do not leave any doubt that the decision is taken by Asad Durrani.
So this was the sole decision of Asim Mori. But sir, one, because you're a veteran, you know you are the one of the makers of the culture of Pakistan Army. There is no mechanism in Pakistan Army that one person can just go ahead and dictate the whole country's policy. There is no mechanism. There is no, a disciplined institution has to have some mechanism for a collective decision making, joint decision making. Do you think Pakistan lacks that?
Mechanisms are there everywhere. India has a better mechanism of consultation, but even then, after Felgam, Modi takes a decision that I'm going to go to war with Pakistan. So
Mm,
because that is the right. I mean, decision maker has the right to take a decision despite all the good advice.
mm,
In this particular case, also the mechanism exists. Mechanism probably worked a couple of times in the past, but I have also known certain incidents where the mechanism was not working, and some people took very foolish decisions. But this particular, I'm talking about the present position that the mechanism did suggest don't do it. Relevant institution did say, but once the boss says, I am going to do it, then the choice is either that person resigns, the man who's giving the decision, or says, right, sir, you have the right. Now that you have taken the decision, taken the bitter appeal, we'll go along. Now,
mm.
these are the options that people have in service. Very few people anywhere, certainly not in Pakistan, they are not in a majority. There are always only a few who would say, look, if you were to do that, I am leaving. I mean, when East Pakistan, that famous disaster was to take place, Sardada Yaqub Khan was the theatre commander and he says, don't do it. I mean, he didn't leave, he was removed, but he said, don't do it because this will lead to one, two, three. So mechanisms are there. It depends how people use them. And if people go ahead and still use them, as I said, the decision makers have the prerogative, but then the others have this option either resigning, going to the court, registering their complaint, etc., or going along and saying, all right, now I did my job. Let's see what happens. I'll try to make a difference from with it. These are all the rationalization that people do. But at the same time, I also concede there would be enough number of people, and in this case, there were people who said, "Yes, sir, let's go ahead and do it."
Sir, I've just Uh, you have defended Pakistan's policy of supporting Afghan Mujahideen in late 1980s and 1990s. Um, uh, uh, we can say things in the hindsight now, but at that time you have you I was reading your paper, one of your papers, Strategic Decision Making in Pakistan, that you probably wrote in 2013, and you have your own positions on different aspects of Pakistan's policy, and on Afghanistan you have defended that. But do you think, I mean, uh, giving it a religious color, making it jihad, that was a whole. Do you defend even that?
We can go ahead and give all sorts of colors depending on what succeeds. But just quickly wrapping up, our um aid to the Mujahideen and later on to the Taliban after the American invasion. It's not the question of defending that decision. It's
Hmm.
probably for us being, it's more important to rationalize as to why does we do it. At that time, what were the options available? Soviets are there. Either we accept that or we go and uh, help the Taliban, the Mujahideen at that time, because otherwise they would be entrenched on our borders and that would become even more difficult. So the options have to be weighed, and at that time you take a decision. They may not always turn out to be. I mean, this decision of ours to support the jihadi in 1980, yeah, 79, 1980, it could have backfired. It worked. After 5 or 6 years, the Soviets went back. But there's always a cost to every decision. So you weigh that if after that, when the Soviets go back, what would happen? What would be the state of destabilization in Afghanistan? Would it impact on us? And you say, right now, get rid of that bigger evil. We will take care of the local evils later on. Now that's a logical thing to do. Otherwise, you will never take a decision. You will never be able to say, but I want 100% guarantee that if I help the Afghan resistance, after that they will become, all good people and they will never fight again and they will remain. It doesn't happen. You take a decision relevant to a particular situation, where then you may not always be the best one, it may be the second best one or third, but you take a decision. And after that, you start calibrating your responses. Maybe a time would come and say, that decision was wrong, now we are going to turn against the Mujahideen or the Taliban. Still a possibility. So it's not defending, it is just trying to suggest that on crucial things, decisions have to be taken. We didn't ask the Soviets to come, we didn't ask the Americans to take, but once it happens, you take a decision. Musharraf, in fact, will clarify my argument a little better. He went along the first 1 or 2 years. He thought that he had to do it. He was under pressure, etc., etc. And then he realized the man is dead. He did not listen to very many advice. But in this particular case, his team came to the conclusion that type of help that we were providing to the United States was harming us. So they started not calibrating or recalibrating, adjusting their positions in a manner in which some damage control could be done. And that took 2, 3, 4 years. And ultimately, I think the whole thing turned around in 2011 after the Salala attack. That is where we came to the right type of relationship with the Americans. So that's the point. That's how it does. On the day one, you are not all wise. There's no claim that you will actually take a decision that you can, see through. But in this particular case, since we are talking of the present situation, a decision was taken, people opposed it, and after that, I don't think that course correction has taken place till today.
On that, I
If it,
agree with you.
it has not taken place. Now,
It is not.
when it will happen, would the present situation help us? Would someone else help us? I do not know. But I do know one thing, that either we continue on this disastrous path and keep getting worse, or we take the course correction, which is not very difficult. Frankly, in this scenario, it takes a very little effort to bring the whole thing around, because the Afghans, the Taliban there, the Afghan regime, and everyone in the region, in the immediate vicinity, would be very helpful, would be very happy to see the two of us, Kabul and Islamabad, trying to, create another equation, another relationship. So it's not very difficult, but like
Yeah.
the same, I'm awaiting that.
So course correction, General Saab, only takes place when we recognize some mistakes. And unfortunately, on our side, particularly everyone, frankly, but particularly our side, we haven't really introspected much. despite sporadic writings here and there, some of yours, someone else's. But as institution, as state, there has been very little, reflection on what we have done. We can differ on should we had jumped into should we have made the goal Soviet Union to kick out from Afghanistan. Kremlin papers suggest that Russia didn't have any intention to come to the Pakistan side, but we did that. And now you say that giving the Afghan resistance a color of religion worked. My question would be, worked for whom? For Pakistan, we actually our side was also affected by this, and we are still reaping the so-called benefits or whatever of that. We have completely ruined our prospects of emerging as a progressive, developed, evolved nation. And during that course also, Jan Saab, don't you, for example, in your paper, you have, the second goal after kicking out Soviet Union, your second goal was creating a broad-based government in Afghanistan, the Afghan interim government, AIG. Now, without realizing that Afghans, they could not be put together even by Saudi Arabia. You remember those? Was it in 1980 or 81 when 19? I don't remember the year when they were all put together in Holy Mosque in Saudi Arabia, and they swore upon Quran and swore upon the Rosa Rasul that they will not fight. And lo and behold, they come back to Afghanistan and they're fighting each other. And so much havoc they created in that land of theirs that not even Soviet Union was able to do that. And then we had that Jalalabad fiasco. General Hamid, could imagine the person only fought one war, and he planned one war, and he just failed, and he was rewarded after that. uh, and one after the other, we have. I remember, Jal Saab, just a day or two before 9/11, General Musharraf was swearing upon. He was just giving statements glorifying Taliban government in Afghanistan, saying that they were their best administrators. And 2 days later, it just turns against Afghanistan. And how we expelled Taliban embassy people from Pakistan, so much humiliation. One after the other, we kept on repeating the mistakes. So, when you are saying course correction, what course you actually consider wrong that we need to correct now?
It's a good question because it's a value judgment. What I consider wrong, someone else may consider correct. So that is why the decisions have to be taken along with the team. There are, I said, mechanisms are there. The National Security Council is there. There are all types of kitchen cabinets, other cabinets are there to do it. And you can consult them, you take a decision, and it may still need some correction, adjustment on the way. I agree that we normally don't do it because of the hubris that the man in power suffers from. Must have heard about it. I can do it. The previous people were absolutely fools. What's the big deal? I am the mighty United States, the sole superpower, and a few 100 million Taliban there did not listen to me. They're probably hiding Osama bin Laden somewhere. I'll go and knock the hell out. Now, this is how a decision might be taken, like Bush told. And later on, so many times people said course correction. Obama tried once, 2009. His speech, first speech on Afghanistan was about course correction. He couldn't do it because despite all the mechanism that is there, the lobby, the other lobby, the people who make money out of wars, who probably thought that the prestige was at stake, there are a number of them who opposed and who scuttled him. He couldn't even wind up the Guantanamo Bay base. So look at the helplessness of the mightiest man supposedly in the world, that he cannot even implement his own pre-election promise. If you look at that, you will find out that the decision making is probably one of the easier ones because it
mm,
can be corrected. But after that, correcting it and standing up to the peers, standing up to the pressures is more difficult. And there are
mm,
very, very brave people who can do it, or mavericks who can do it. After all, the
mm,
decision to withdraw from
mm,
Afghanistan was taken by Trump in his first tenure. He's the one we
mm.
are leaving. Biden only came
Yeah.
and had to carry it out. But that type of a decision, I do not know how much opposition he felt faced that at that time. Must have, but he took that decision.
Mm,
So this is the paradox, security paradox. Some people call it the decision-making paradox, which every leader is faced with in small decisions and bigger decisions. Always. I've talked about Modi. I've talked about Pakistanis. One can also talk about, other places, how it is done. But that type of, coming around and doing those things that should have been done, let's say, little earlier, very rarely people do it. And that also, I think you said, you're forced to sometimes do it. And that decision also had to be taken very bravely. And whatever was the motivation of Trump, I do not know. Because 20 years I was following that time and again in Afghanistan, there were enough number of people who said, time to go. Enough. From the American side, not from all the other sides. But people found it very difficult to leave, primarily because some people, out of ego reasons, got stuck. But there were also enough number of people who were making money. The money making in Afghanistan, a huge, that lesson that we learned, who all made money. The defense contractors did. The strategic community that came over, the think tanks, they made plenty of money. Taliban made money. During that occupation, they used to get over $500 every year from NATO. Every year. All across the table. No cuts, no commissions. They used to get
mm.
money. So that type of money was being made. So people could have rightly asked, why end this war? We're all right. Oh, a few people are dying, but that's okay. Our pockets are okay. The Taliban are all right. They could have continued for some time. But this is a point that is probably needs not only a research or a thesis, but a long drawn study as to how come people know it's going to go wrong, but even then they do it. Is it human? Is it human frailty? Is it that, as Einstein said, the human stupidity is infinite, and is it that? And for that, you are going to need very many people to come together and tell you the reasons.
Mm,
I, as a single person, having watched that, having been confused on so many occasions, having been part of this muddling through at times, will not be able to give you a very good reasons except one. No, 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 no explanation, no good answer. That you do
mm.
know that there's something going wrong, and you find it very
Yeah.
difficult to correct it.
Thank you very much for saying that. But, sir, coming back to and this is going to be my last question to you. Um, Coming back to the present situation. Now, you say that, and I agree to some extent with your logic and reasoning of why it is difficult for and impossible for Afghan Taliban to do what Pakistani side is asking them to do. Uh, and Pakistani side should take care of the influx of terrorists on their side. But don't you think this is the same position that was we have been taking the same position that it's a porous border and we can't hold you do it from your side when under American occupation or when Americans were there and Karzai and Ashraf Ghani were have been protesting against the cross-border terrorism, people coming from terrorists coming from Pakistan side in Afghanistan and doing whatever they were doing, and we were on this side and we were saying this is a porous border, we can't hold them, you hold them on your side. Now we are saying the same. So what is the solution to that? It is
What
a
is
porous border, and you cannot control everyone who comes. How do you do that now?
you can't do it. So that is true. Americans at that time knew that we could not have done it. There's porous borders, and wherever we said, since we are going back, where are your people? The checkposts they've done. So they knew, they accepted that. They didn't start bombing Rawalpindi because of that. They understood tribal area and odd role, but they understood that. Similarly, now, if people do not understand here, that's no one else's fault. This is the porous border. People will come and go, and once not only that they cannot, round them up and stop that, they cannot make another condition which I found even more frivolous. Someone said, give it in writing that your soil will not be used for any action against Pakistan or a third country. Now, who can give that guarantee? Pakistan cannot. United States cannot say that no one from its soil will move and attack, let's say, Canada. No, it cannot be that because this is an impossible sign. Anyone can get up and without arguing can go and do it. But insisting that you do it in writing is, as I said, but the facts are there that certain things you cannot do. And it has to be accepted that, well, okay, despite their goodwill, you try as your best. At the most, we are prepared to, also join your efforts so that we can find out what those people are. Help us find. There are so many reasonable options. And the last one is, of course, there are people alienated for some reason, they've gone there. Once they come back, the old teachings are there. And the old teaching says treating them, once they are back, in insurgents or in our country, the first tool to be employed against or to be employed in counter-terrorism is politics, not military. But we start with the military. So there is no remedy for this. Because
So
your
what are
own teaching,
Pakistan's
no,
options?
your own teaching, the teaching of every country on coin is that it's not a military affair, it's not a law and order affair, it's essentially a political affair. This is the teaching, and I do not know if it is different anywhere. But I also do not know, except one or two places, where we did not start by military. I mean, there are countries who employ their military first. And that exception that I found where the insurgency was being handled politically was for 2 years in Kashmir. When my co-author Dulat was there, his counterinsurgency was simple. He said, Aapka masla kya hai? What do you want? Someone said money, someone said by treatment, someone said I have to go to visa, admission in hospital. He used to carry out that type of counterinsurgency measures. For 18 months he was there. The militancy, the unrest came down more than 50%.
That's a good note. But on the other hand, it is also ironical because it is a political issue. There is and the only solution, only sustainable solution should be political. It would be political, but it's the militaries who always insist on doing that, leading that part, which is ironic for me. But anyway, sir, thank you very much for
But
your
but
time.
not always. But just one, but not always. Once or twice I know that the military said it's not our problem. Please take the ownership. But
Yeah,
it is
whenever they think that,
it's once or twice it may have
when they
happened.
know they can't do it, they always put it on the civilian side, always on the political side. But they want to lead when the funds were coming, the coalition support funds were coming from America, they wanted to lead it. They didn't think that it was political. But thank you very much for at least recognizing so many things that we want our military personnel to realize, and in time, not 10 years after or 20 years after they retire, because then, you know, so
After they
much water
retire,
passes
after
under
they
the
retire,
bridges.
after they retire, you start understanding it. It's not because you're always born with that wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they
People
say
at people
experience.
at the helm may or may
Yeah.
not understand, or because of their service
Mm,
compulsion, they may not say. But after retirement, you understand a little more. And so
absolutely.
the trick is ask them, what
Listen
is
to
it
them.
that you have learned?
Yes,
What is it that you learned? But
absolutely.
we don't. But we don't.
Listen to them because experience, as they say, is a comb that you get when you are bald. So, those who have comb but they are bald, you're not bald. You can get the comb from them. So, yes, I hope someone in the decision making quarters in Pakistan is listening to you and asks you to, consult with you and people like you. Thank you very much, Jalsab, for your time. And we'll have to leave it here, viewers, and we will come back
Sure.
with another guest very soon. Please do subscribe to our channel because it's only you who we rely on for support. We don't rely on any advertisements. We don't believe in that. So it's just you who can keep us running. Thank you very much. Have a good one. See you next time.
Good try.